Hey everyone, welcome back to my video. This video will cover all of Act 4. We'll see Juliet take some drastic action in an effort to be with Romeo, and we'll also take a look into one new literary device called personification. Let's get started. Act 3 left off with Juliet running to Friar Lawrence's cell since the nurse has finally sided with Tybalt and Juliet feels as if she has nowhere left to turn. In Act 4, Scene 1, Juliet arrives at Friar Lawrence's cell. Paris is there since he is due to marry Juliet in a few days. Paris is glad to see his soon-to-be bride, but he questions why she is still so sad over Tybalt. Keep in mind we know that she is sad over Romeo. Juliet is polite to Paris, but she tries to avoid him. Once Paris leaves, Juliet collapses into a puddle of tears. She tells Friar Lawrence that unless he stops the marriage, she will kill herself. Juliet claims that she would prefer to do many awful things rather than to marry Paris. She says the following, "Oh, bid me leap rather than marry Paris." She says she will throw herself off the wall or jump to her death, from off the battlements of yonder tower, or walk in thievish ways, or bid me lurk where serpents are, chain me with roaring bears. So she's saying that she would rather be buried with the dead or chained with some angry, ferocious bears. Basically, she will do anything, as awful as it sounds, to refrain from marrying Paris. So even though Juliet has just told her entire family and the nurse that she's agreeing to Paris, we can see in the following short clip that Juliet is still desperate to get out of the marriage to Paris. She hates the idea of it, and she throws herself at the mercy of Friar Lawrence's feet, hoping that he can help her devise a plan to escape the marriage to Paris. Let's see.
Oh, shut the door, and when thou hast done so, come weep with me, past hope, past care, past help.
Oh, Juliet, I already know thy grief.
Oh, tell me not, Fry, that thou heardst of this, unless thou tell me how I can prevent it. If in thy wisdom thou canst give no help,
Oh, daughter. I do spy a kind of hope, as that is desperate which we would prevent. If rather than to marry County Paris, thou hast the strength of will to...
Bid me leap rather than marry Paris, from off the battlements of any tower, or bid me go into a new-made grave and hide me with a dead man in his shroud.
Hold them.
Due to his extensive knowledge of plants and herbs, Friar Lawrence has many potions that might help Juliet escape the marriage. Friar Lawrence has the following plan: fake Juliet's death, and here are the steps. First, Juliet will drink a potion that Friar Lawrence has made, and that potion will slow her heart rate down so she appears dead, stiff, and cold. Secondly, everyone will presume that Juliet is dead, so the family will lay her in the Capulet crypt or tomb. Keep in mind that this burial style is above ground, so it's not like Juliet is going to be buried alive or anything. Thirdly, after 42 hours, Juliet will wake up. Friar Lawrence will retrieve Romeo from Mantua, and they will await for her in the tomb. Once she wakes up from her deep sleep, she can ride away with Romeo to Mantua. Even though this plan sounds stealthy, there are many problems that could arise. For example, how trustworthy is this potion? Is it safe? Will it essentially kill Juliet? Or will it have the intended effect to fake her death, make her presume dead? Secondly, and most importantly, we have the issue of Romeo. Romeo has recently been banished. He's off in Mantua, so he has no idea that Juliet is betrothed to Paris suddenly, and he also has no idea about this newly formed plan. So Romeo is typically not great at taking things slow, thinking about the consequences, or clearly communicating. In fact, no one really is for that matter, so we'll see how smoothly this whole plan plays out. The following short clip will display how Friar Lawrence concocts his master plan to feed Juliet a potion that will fake her death, so her parents will lay her presumed dead body in the tomb, and that will help Juliet sneak away with Romeo into the night so that they can be together. So again, this plan is faking Juliet's death.
Go home. Be merry. Give consent to marry Paris.
Oh, no.
Wednesday is tomorrow. Tomorrow night, look that thou lie alone. Let not the nurse lie within thy chamber. Take thou this phial, being then in bed. This distilling liquor, drink thou off. When presently through all thy veins shall run a cold and drowsy humour, for no pulse shall keep his native progress, but surcease. No warmth, no breath shall testify thou livest. And in this borrowed likeness of shrunk death, thou shalt continue 42 hours. And then awake, as from a pleasant sleep. In the meantime, against thou shalt awake, shall Romeo by my letters know adrift, and hither shall he come, and he and I will watch thy waking, and that very night shall Romeo bear thee hence to Mantua.
Give me. Tell me not to fear.
Hold then. Get thee gone. Be strong and prosperous in this resolve.
Scene 2 follows Juliet going back to her house. Once Juliet returns home after talking with Friar Lawrence, her father is so pleased that she is agreeing to marry Paris. Since the Capulet family is now in high spirits, Lord Capulet moves the wedding up a day, from Thursday now to Wednesday, because he simply desires a cheerful celebration for his household. Keep in mind, this affects the potion because now Juliet has to take the potion earlier than she expects. Since Juliet intends to fake her own death, Juliet appears as the perfect daughter, complying with all of her family's demands. Juliet heads up to her bedroom where she contemplates taking the potion because it's now or never. Juliet is alone and talking to herself, so she is delivering a soliloquy. Juliet is anxious that the potion might not work and that she will end up having to marry Paris. If the potion fails, she decides that she will commit suicide by stabbing herself with her dagger or her knife. Juliet starts to doubt the plan that the Friar Lawrence had made. What if the Friar Lawrence is secretly poisoning her because he wants to cut himself out of all of their drama so that it doesn't tarnish his good holy name? What if she wakes up too early in the crypt and dies because the air is so foul due to all of the dead bodies? Won't she be terrified in the crypt of all the ghosts and the rotting dead bodies, like Tybalt's newly decaying corpse? The following lines indicate one of Juliet's many fears. She says, "What if it be poison, which the friar subtly hath ministered to have me dead? What if Friar Lawrence is actually trying to kill me so he can wash his hands clean of this entire secret situation, lest in this marriage he should be dishonored because he married me before Romeo?" Nonetheless, Juliet drinks the poison because she says it is the only way that she can be with Romeo, and she loves Romeo above everyone else. So she drinks. Scene 4 is incredibly short. The nurse and the Capulets have spent the whole night preparing for the wedding. Paris is on his way over, and the nurse is sent to go wake up Juliet. We know that a few hours prior, Juliet has taken the potion, so we'll see exactly what the nurse finds in Juliet's bedroom. In scene 5, the nurse enters Juliet's bedroom, and the nurse finds Juliet's body and believes she is dead. So far, it seems that the potion is working according to plan. The nurse is screaming in agony. Aware of the commotion, Juliet's family members trickle into her bedroom. The Capulet family is devastated. They cry that the day is terrible and tragic. Lord Capulet says the following. He says, "Death lies on her like an untimely frost upon the sweetest flower of all the field." So this is a sweet but sad line that paints Juliet as the prettiest flower in nature, and death has settled upon that flower like a frost that has come too soon.
My lady Juliet, my lord, is dead!
What?
Dead!
Juliet! My baby, where is she? Oh, lamentable day. Death lies on her like an untimely frost upon the sweetest flower of all the field.
Speaking of death, death is consistently described and characterized throughout all of Romeo and Juliet. This brings us to the literary device called personification. If you look at the term, it has the word person in it, which helps explain what personification means. Personification is the attribution of a personal nature or human characteristic to something non-human. We use personification in everyday speech all the time. If you look at the image over to the right, it's a picture of a gleaming bright sun that says, "The sun happily greeted everyone good morning." Now, is the sun, which is a non-human inanimate object, capable of being happy or greeting anybody hello? The answer is of course not. But we use these kinds of adjectives or verbs to describe inanimate objects to make them seem more relatable or realistic. Some more examples of writers applying human-like features to non-human objects are as following. "My flowers were begging for water." Now we know flowers don't have the capacity to beg or ask or do anything like that, but we can tell if flowers are starving for water if they're dry and brittle. So we'll say that, oh, they were begging for water just to dramatize it. Or we'll say the wind howled in the night. Wind doesn't howl like a wolf, but it makes a similar sound that we could all relate to the wolf. The following line is from the play, and it shows how the characters describe death, giving it a lot of agency and power to take life away. It says, "Hath death lain with thy wife?" Right? Death has come over Juliet. "There Juliet lies, flower as she was, deflowered by him, deflowered by death, taken by death, killed by death. Death is my son-in-law," Lord Capulet says. "Death is my heir. My daughter he hath wedded. I will die and leave him all. Life, living, all is death." So Lord Capulet is kind of shaking his fist at Death, claiming that Death has physically stolen everything from him now that Juliet is dead, but of course, Death can't steal anything. So while the entire Capulet family is lamenting Juliet's death, Friar Lawrence swoops in and encourages everyone to stop crying. Keep in mind that only Friar Lawrence knows that Juliet is still alive because he gave her the sleeping potion. He tells them that Juliet's soul is now safe in heaven. Friar Lawrence wants to get Juliet into the tomb as quickly as possible. Friar Lawrence does not want the Capulets to feel sorry for Juliet. He is also afraid of the potion not working and Juliet waking up too soon. He wants Juliet to be in the tomb before Romeo gets there. The characters depart in order to prepare Juliet for her deathbed. They will now have to turn Juliet's wedding into a funeral. The play says, all things that we have ordained festival turn from their office to black funeral. The happy, jubilant festival will turn into a black funeral. Our instruments to melancholy bells, our happy fiddles and drums will turn to sad bells, our wedding cheer to a sad burial feast. Act 4 ends with the characters mourning Juliet since they think that she is dead. However, Friar Lawrence knows that Juliet is actually still alive. As long as Friar Lawrence can write a letter to Romeo, Romeo and Juliet should be able to unite in the tomb once Juliet wakes up from her deep sleep. The next video begins with the final act of the play, Act 5. We will see how Romeo is doing in Mantua and how he reacts once he hears the news from Verona about Juliet. Thanks for watching. Next video will start Act 5, and please read the description for my contact information, and feel free to reach out with all of your questions. Thank you and stay well. Bye.